Hey, this is Jim. Welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Today, our guest is a young man who's got a young son at home and wife, and he's used to working 60, 70 hours a week, driving a truck full time, and still found a way to launch an online business using the concepts from Proven Amazon course. This guy's going to inspire you because he did what it took. And not to steal too much of the thunder from the interview you're about to hear, but he's about to close out his first $700,000 sales year on Amazon just a short time after discovering how to do this. So you're going to love this story. I'm going to get him on the line here in just a second. You're going to meet Mr. Brad Pine. And before I bring him on the line, one last thing. He did tell me he's planning on coming to the Proven Conference. That's the plan, along with a whole bunch of other guests you've heard on this show. A lot of people from our free Facebook community. If you're not in that community yet, you should be. Going up on 55,000 members in there. Jump over to silentjim.com/podcast. You can see a link to our Facebook community. You can see a link to this episode, any links referenced today, including our conference, and the Facebook post that our guest today made. Again, his name is Brad. He made a great Facebook post just a few weeks ago in our group sharing some of his results. Well, of course, the comments exploded and people were congratulating him. We contacted him and said, hey, do you want to be on the podcast? And he agreed. That's the setup to today's episode. You're going to really like this guy. Some real practical steps and content along with an amazing success story for you. So enjoy this episode of Silent Sales Machine Radio. So, hey, Brad, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, man. Why don't you just tell us your story? Let's start there.
Nice to be on your podcast. Thanks for having me. A few years ago, well, my whole life, I've always asked people, there's got to be a better way to make money than just working a job. I was driving a truck and just working a lot of hours. And so I started Googling it and I found out that there was a podcast teaching people how to make money on Amazon. So I was like, never heard of this before. I didn't know this was possible. So I started listening to the podcast. I signed up for their email list and the guy called me. And, at first you're just like the shock of somebody from a podcast calling you. It's like celebrity status, right? So
Right.
I ended up signing up for their course for $1,500. And I mean, really, it was a PDF file that they sent me, a Word document with highlighted words. And it just was this promise of a webinar and support. And really, I got nothing from it. But what it did is it led me on a journey from one thing to another. And I found a guy in my church named Chris, and he was also selling on Amazon. And he told me about your podcast, and I was like, what? So I just lost my job, and I was washing cars, and I had the headphones in, just listening from episode 1 to all the way to the end. You say skip from the beginning to the current episodes. And I was just like, I'm going to get to all of them. I'll be to the current episode in no time.
Wow. Okay, so your first podcast wasn't us. It was someone else. It kind of led you down a dead end. But then your buddy Chris told you about us. I'm with you. All right, so here you are washing cars between jobs, listening to this podcast. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's so awesome for me to hear that, we're reaching people who are truly at that point where, man, they really need a break. It sounds like that's where you were at, man.
Yeah, I was. And, I grew up as a Christian, and I knew that there was you could work hard. My dad taught me hard work, and I've always worked hard. I've always made money for the company I worked in. And I knew that I was making them rich. And I just was like, how can I do this for myself? And I started power washing businesses. I was working, 20 hours a day at times with hardly any sleep. And, I was a go-getter, but I never found anything I loved. And so when I started selling on Amazon and I brought my first private label product into the country and started selling it, sales were difficult at first, I brought in 1,000 units. I spent $12,000 on a credit card because this other course had taught me to do that, with no proof. And luckily, I sold through everything and I got my money back and it was a good product. But I spent a lot of money in advertising and not a lot of profit. So when I started listening to your podcast, I was like, I need to meet this guy. I need to go to his conference. And that was 2017. And you guys still had the CES conference. And I think it was in Orlando that year.
That's right.
And so I just spent $12,000 on this private label product, and I was like, there's no way I can afford to go to Florida right now. Like, this is not going to work. So you guys reached out and said that you were offering scholarships to the conference. So my brother-in-law and I, we applied and got approved to get a full scholarship.
Oh,
and so
that's
we
so
flew
awesome.
down, and we were just eating up everything that we heard, from you and Brett and Chris Green during that conference. It was amazing,
Where are you from?
I am from Northwest Indiana. I live just a couple hours north of you.
Oh, a fellow Hoosier. All right. Yeah, that's what we call it. That's what the people from Indiana called Hoosiers around here. We have listeners all over the world. That word wouldn't make sense to most of them, I imagine. But
exactly.
Fellow Hoosier, that's super cool. All right, Brad. So you flew down to Florida. That's when you first kind of started to get to know some of the people from this community. And did we chat at that time? We had a lot of people there.
I shook your hand, and, we said, hey, and
okay.
I did the video in the back of the room and was super nervous and didn't know what I was getting into, at that point. But, that led me on a journey to, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, private label. Like, I didn't know all the different aspects of selling online. So that first Christmas, my brother-in-law and I, we were both working full-time jobs, and we hit the ground hard, just hitting stores and trying to find deals. And does this work? Does this product sell, and trying to learn all the software and how to do a shipment. You know how that goes. I mean, my first shipment's I print out my labels, and it's a full sheet of paper, and I had to literally cut the labels out because I didn't have the right papers. And I'm sure a lot of new sellers are there because at the beginning, you don't use the Dymo label. You don't use the right software, and you don't know what you're doing. And
scissors and clear tape, man. That's your
exactly.
That's your label.
Exactly. So obviously now we've evolved into where things are set up very efficiently. I like things like that. I have a drawer for everything. My tools are in a certain spot, and when we get low, we reorder. Like, when I say we, it's me. But I have a place for everything so that I don't get lost in my office and I'm spending 10 minutes looking for my knife, or we run out of poly bags, so I can't sit in the unit. So part of my business was like getting everything organized and set up efficiently so that everything can run well. And that's one thing I encourage people is like, treat it like a business. Don't just wing it, Try to have everything set up where the next time you do it, it's done the same way so that you can maximize your time.
Yeah. And those little lessons never change, and as soon as you feel like you've got a great system, now you're growing a team, and now your job is managing a team, not ordering poly labels or poly bags.
Exactly.
But I love where the story was going. 2017, you're and your brother-in-law in Florida. Like, what stands out to you from that event? Because I talk all the time on this show, Brad, about the power of getting together with other people who are doing the stuff that you're trying to accomplish. Just quantify for us a little bit how you felt when you went to that event and how you felt when you left. Like, and what other resources or people or information has kind of helped propel you forward. Like, fill in a few gaps for us on that, if you would.
Yeah, I tell you, you actually bring up a good point, because at that event, I met a friend named Brad, and he lives down in the southern states. I think it was in Alabama by Birmingham. And, he had been selling for 3 or 4 years, and I didn't know a thing about selling, right? So him sharing some of his successes and failures, and then being able to, he was just a phone call away. Like, what do you think about this product, buying this product? I found it for this price, and here's the keep a graph. And so building those relationships, because you always talk about that, relationships. And I really didn't understand, like, build a relationship with your family members or whatever, but what you're really talking about with relationships is people that are just a little bit in front of you that can help you to speed up your course to catch up, or a retail manager at a store that gives you a good deal on a price. And then anytime he's got something that, maybe you might be interested in this, he sends you a text. Like, here's a picture of this pallet of stuff I have. Are you interested, And those relationships that you build, the salesman at the wholesale account that you have, like, do we always just talk about, I need to order this and that? No, sometimes we talk about a fishing trip, or sometimes we talk about our vacation or a kid, and it turns into these relationships where the person, and in doing so, I'll get a 10% discount or 20% discount just by knowing the person and building that relationship.
You're top of mind. You're the first one they call. Talking about the biblical model for relationships and how that almost gives us an unfair advantage, those of us who've been exposed to these ideas, regardless of worldview, again, like, Daniel Lappin at our event, regardless of your worldview, the stuff he taught us was very practical and proven and time tested. But one lesson that pops in my head as I hear you say this, Brad, is, you're talking about those people who are kind of a little ahead of you. There's people who can help you take your business somewhere. And those are vital, important relationships. But another one that I've found and have been challenged, and this is a biblical model as well, is people who are kind of behind you. Because at this point, you've got a lot of people now who are looking at you going, wow, okay, you went from truck driver to nice, healthy business. You know a lot more than I do. A handful of those people, not everybody who comes to you and says, hey, can I pick your brain for an hour? You can't possibly sit down with everybody. That's why
Right.
we've built out a whole business model. The 2 or 3 people that you have, because what I've discovered is those handful of people that are still asking all the same questions we've heard a million times, but you take the time to help them out. And what you discover is they see the world through a unique vantage point that maybe you've never considered. You can end up learning a lot teaching someone who's otherwise seemingly clueless.
Right.
It's kind of the same way that businesses benefit from bringing in interns. Like, it doesn't make sense mathematically, numerically, but you look back and the energy, the questions they ask, like, why do we do it this way? Like, no one's ever asked why we do it that way. Why do we do it
Right.
that way? Right. So you start getting exposure to those new ideas, and that can be every bit as powerful. So I would just encourage guys, especially like you, Brad, where you're building those very strategic relationships that are propelling your business up. Take a handful of people along with you for the ride. And I don't know if I've ever talked about that before, but again, I think it's the Paul Barnabas model, where we talk about you're always mentoring somebody and you're always being mentored by somebody. That's the model.
Yeah.
And that's the healthiest model that we can use in business as well. But that's cool. So you met your buddy from Alabama. You said you thought it was, and you guys have talked on the phone. And do you guys consider it like a mastermind or just a couple guys kind of chatting and helping each other out?
Honestly, it was never like planned. It was always just like, spur of the moment. And then we would sit on the phone for an hour and just, how's this going? How's that going? How can
Hmm.
I help you type thing? And, it turns into a great relationship. And we don't talk as much anymore, but my friend Chris and I, we talk all the time. And literally, if it wasn't for that constant support, because sometimes, man, you're just down because you've had a failure. Like, you accidentally list something under the wrong product and you sell 100 units, and then every one of them has to be replaced or returned. And you're just, but
Yeah.
what's cool is, like, we
Right.
did that while we were working full time at a job. So those small successes and those small failures taught you what to do or what not to do. So, um, yeah, that was in 2017. And, we just moved on. And it was like in 2018, um, one of my retail finds I had found over the fourth quarter of 2017. I just looked on the back of the package, like you guys talk, and I reached out to the wholesaler and I opened up an account, and sure enough, I started ordering products and they started selling. And one of my other products, I reached out to the wholesaler and I was like, hey, can I open up an account? Oh no. And they sent me through this whole like distributor thing. And um basically that story, I never did get the product that year, but this past year they finally agreed to sell me. So it's like that persistence
Oh, wow.
that
You stayed after him. Tell me more of that story. So you started going after them in 2017, and here we are, 2019. It took you a couple years.
it's actually a really funny story because I was getting it from a retail store for a price that I could double my money on Amazon after all the fees. And I was working for Dunkin' Donuts, delivering all the stores up in Wisconsin, and I would literally route my stores so that during my breaks I could stop at this retail store and clean off their shelves. And I would go from store
That's
to
so
store to
awesome.
store. And then on the weekends,
I
I would
love it.
plan. I literally drove right past your house because I drove down through Indianapolis and over to Fort Wayne and hit all these stores because I think I sold almost 1,500 units last year. And each store only had, 10, 15, 20 units. And they wouldn't ship them to me for a reasonable price. So I had to just get in my car and drive. I didn't know what else to do because the wholesaler, the brand, would not sell it to me unless I ordered way more than I could order. Well, this past year they agreed to sell it to me by the pallet, and it's just amazing. Like, now I spend my time prepping the inventory versus chasing it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So my time has become a lot more useful for other things because I'm not chasing that product anymore.
That's beautiful. So talk to me about the persistence of going after this one product. Like how many times did they say no and how did you follow up? And, did they
You
just call
know,
you out of the blue one day? I'm just curious. 'Cause I love this. I don't think we're persistent. Sometimes we hear no. We're like, well, all right, next case.
yeah, I
How'd you
tell you,
handle it?
I reached out with an email to a guy, and he pushed me over to a wholesale account or a distributor. So I opened up the account, and they weren't selling this product in America this year, or in the United States of America at least. So they kind of distributed it to me. So I thought I was at a dead end. Well, then I reached out the next year, and the guy had quit. So then it was this whole like line of people I had to talk to try to get a new sales rep. Then he still wanted to sell it to me. So then I reached back out to the brand, and that guy had quit. So then I had to find a new contact at the brand. And finally, I was like, what do I need to get this product? Because I know it sells. And before I started selling it, it was ranked over a million in the sales rank because it hadn't been available. And it's so cool when you sell something to somebody and you're making a good profit, but they return with reviews of, I've been looking for this product for years. We love this product and we haven't been able to get it or find it anywhere. And it might be a little bit pricier than what we expected, but we needed it. And we're so happy that you offered it. Do not stop carrying it. Those kind of reviews are just like, wow, I'm actually bringing value to other people and I'm serving them. And it makes a lot more sense when you get that feedback from your customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only way to succeed in business is to provide a product of value. Either that or to rip people off, and it's a very short-lived business model where
Right.
people expose you. That's what I love about the internet is your reputation is out there. You know,
Yeah.
reviews is out there. So the only way if you're persisting, if you tell me you've been profitable for 2 or 3 years, I'm like, hey, you've been serving a lot of people really well. That's the only way to make a profit over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So well done, man. Sounds like you learned some valuable lessons about how business works along the way. That great work ethic, of course, which has served you well, but then understanding what it's like to have more than one customer, really, if you, from past podcast episodes, right? Because when you were driving, you worked for FedEx and you said Dunkin' Donuts, that was your one customer, the person writing your paycheck. Well, now you have a bunch of customers. I find that very rewarding to have hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of customers expressing gratitude with little green pieces of paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Paying for goods and services. It's a great thing to wake up to every day, huh?
It's absolutely amazing. And you say like, oh wow, you've been successful, but still it's like you're pinching yourself because it's like, is this really my Amazon account? Is this really work that I did? Because I mean, yeah, there's been weeks I worked 65 hours, but I mean, because you were able to help me come home and work from home. Well, actually I got a little office now, but that's another story. But I'm able to pick up my son from school. I'm able to drop him off at school in the mornings. I've
That's
gone to 3 or 4
beautiful.
field trips and I've had his teachers. I saw his teacher the other day at the store and she goes, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, you're that dad that's always there. Yeah, what are you doing?
She
That's
told me
weird.
that. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're the only dad that has been at every function, every party, every field
Mm-hmm.
trip. And
Mm-hmm.
my son does some photo shoots for different stores. So it'll take like a whole day to go to a store and do the shoots. And I've taken another 20 days off just to, make sure that he can do that. He's 6. So, I have to travel him everywhere. But it's so cool that I have that flexibility now where before, I mean, I was working 65 hours a week. I was gone 75 hours a week at a job. And you always talk about that season of intense focus. Is
Focused
that what you
effort.
say?
Yeah, intense
Focused
focused
effort?
effort. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was working 65, 75 hours a week and driving around on the weekends and in between stops trying to pick up inventory and scan things and, try to find more inventory. But now, I mean, I was able to go on 3 vacations this summer, which when I worked for Dunkin' Donuts, I was not allowed to go on vacation in the summer because it's the busy time and there's so many people on vacation and I was too low in seniority. And so now it's like, if I want to go on vacation, my boss is pretty cool. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
just say I
you.
need this week off,
That's right. And you can take your business with you, do a little sourcing where you're at, right? Check
Exactly.
in on the numbers. It's an incredible feeling knowing that your whole business is in your pocket
Yeah.
and being able to live that flexible lifestyle. I'm 18 years into that journey now. Well, a little over 17. And I can tell you, it doesn't get old, man. That's the good news. I mean, literally today, waking up without an alarm clock And I like to guess what time it is when I wake up because I don't have an alarm clock wake me up. So I like guess. I'm like, but it's about 7:30. Look at my watch. Oh no, it's about 8:45. Wow, got some good sleep last night. And you hop up and go. That's the reality of a flexible lifestyle, and there's nothing that can replace it. And that time spent, I'm 17 years into being that dad who was, I was the only dad at a lot of events where it's all moms and little kids, and then I'm the dad because Andrea had something that day. It just nothing beats being a dad who's there. And our culture tells us it's not possible, but man, it is. And you're doing it. Kudos. Your kid, your son is going to reap the benefits in ways you can't even imagine right now.
I hope so.
Just being present, being a dad, taking time in the middle of the day to wrestle, goof off, go outside if it's a nice day, letting them walk in your office anytime. I'll tell you, this was, I'm not sure where my brain goes here, Brad, but, we had that house fire here a couple of years ago. And I don't know if I've shared it on the podcast or not, but the one thing that I really regret having lost in that house fire, it was a lightning strike, total loss house fire, was my daughter would bring me drawings almost every day and I'd stack them up. I had this treasure chest and we'd stack them in there, and she'd bring me one. And sometimes it would be a very quick conversation. Other times she'd give me all the details by the time she was a little girl on up. And unfortunately we lost that, but we have the memory of all those times. And she knew I was always here. And so we still talk very fondly about it. In a lot of cases, it was just crayon scribbles on paper. I have her first one, thankfully. But man, just being here and being available for when life gets a little crazy, and the benefit to your marriage, just where your wife has something crazy come up, it's like, yeah, I got it. Yeah, go do what you got to do. Flexible. Nothing like it, man. So I don't want to beat up dads either. Let me say this, Brad, before you continue on your story, because kudos to the parents, moms and dads. They get up, they do what they got to do. They have to use an alarm clock. They've got to get out there. They've got to keep working 60, 70 hours. All we're saying is, hey, you have options. Maybe it's not for everyone. I don't know. I haven't met the person yet who couldn't do this, but maybe it's not for you. Cool. We're not trying to beat you up or guilt you into anything. We're just saying, hey, there's options out there. 50,000 of us sold $500,000 or more on Amazon in 2018. Haven't seen the 2019 numbers yet, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be around 80 or 90,000 people sold $500,000 or more. The opportunity's there. We can teach you how to do this stuff. But all right, Brad, keep it going, man. Two dads reminiscing, man. Let's keep the story going. So, fill me in some other highlights, some other challenges. The ball's in your court, man.
Yeah, actually, the painting thing kind of speaks to my heart because right here I had a whiteboard behind me, and my son had drawn with colorful markers all over it and made a little painting for me. But yeah, I think I was talking about
pictures of that stuff, man. Take pictures before you erase it. Yeah,
save them digitally, right?
You'll be amazed how meaningful those things are about 10 years from now. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, so I guess I was just in 2018. My numbers. I don't know if you want to talk numbers, but
yeah, for sure.
The first year, I started the private label, and then I got into retail arbitrage after CES, and I did about 30,000 in sales with about 5,000 in profit. So it wasn't great, anything really even to write home about, but I proved the concept, right?
Yeah,
to myself because I always was trying other things that failed. So, 2018, with the wholesale account and a bunch of other work, I did 96,000 in sales with a profit of around 23 or so last year. So
that changes your budget. That changes your budget. Putting a couple extra $1,000 in the bank a month, that changes your budget, right?
It changes it. Yeah. And the thing was, I was making pretty good money at Dunkin' Donuts, and I never touched it. I started with all credit cards, and I had spreadsheets of when everything was due, exactly how much the balances were, when my 0% APRs after 12 or 15 months, they dropped off, and everything was like calculated. And I learned that from somebody that was in real estate that had taught me how to do that. That wasn't even my own idea. So that's another thing where, like relationships, you learn things from people that are smarter, more successful than you, and then you use those to help you organize yourself. So in 2019, I did. We're still in December, but I'm up over 600,000, and my profit, my margin is around 26 to 28%. So it's been a pretty good year, and it's still kind of blowing me away, like how much I've grown. Because I went full time in February of this year, and before that, I had just been doing it on the side. And so I had to get off nights with my job because I was working at night and I was just exhausted and it wasn't really safe for me anymore. I was just like working too many hours. And I was like, I know I can do this if I just put more time. So I did. And the first month, my sister actually sent me a or a picture from a local retail store. And I went and talked to the guy and I said, hey, these are $50. These products are $50. I'm looking to buy them and resell them. Can I get tax exempt with you guys? He said, yeah. I say, if I buy a bunch of them, can you work on the price at all? He said, well, how many is a bunch? Like 5, 6, I said, well, how many do you have? And he said, well, I got 600, 800. And it was a good selling product. So I ended up buying 900 units of 2 different products that were similar. And I hired my uncle for like a whole week. I rented a U-Haul truck. We brought 24 pallets to the warehouse I just started renting and started prepping that inventory, and it all sold within 2 months. And it's like I've probably picked up another 10 or 15 pallets from the same guy just because of that relationship. And I was looking at my numbers earlier. I've done 160,000 revenue from that one store, and
Wow.
about 66,000 of its profit.
Wow.
It's crazy that one relationship, one store,
one relationship,
income.
One relationship, one conversation, one product, maybe 2. And you're making more from that deal than the average American household pulls in a year.
That's crazy.
Isn't that nuts? I mean, that's the opportunity. And yours, correct me if I'm wrong, but you still feel probably relatively new to all of this, do you not?
Absolutely.
I mean, I do. People don't believe me sometimes. I learn literally every day. I mean, if I'm going to run out and get some stuff, I can't decide if I'm going to make chili or a beef stew for dinner tonight. While I'm at the store today, I'm going to run over my favorite store here, grab the stuff I need, cook it up tonight. I'm the cook in the family most evenings. And I'm going to walk by probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of opportunity as I'm speeding down the aisle, choosing which beans to grab, right?
Right.
There's so much opportunity. And even a guy who's been doing it and teaching it, an organization arguably as successful and more successful than any other in the world at teaching the opportunity that's here on Amazon and selling online, I still walk past stuff every single time I go anywhere. That's how new all this is. That's how tip of the iceberg all of this is. So I just want to encourage people. It's not like there's this, secret group you got to become a part of, and then you're going to know all there is to know. Man, you'll never know all there is to know. This whole replen strategy that we're doing, and it's blowing my mind. Like,
right.
you could set these guys what you've been trained in any retail aisle in any store, and give them about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they're going to walk out with 12 to 30 profitable ideas. Maybe not off the shelf, but off of the concepts and the research style. Just incredible. So yeah, the tip of the iceberg stuff, man. And you're not far from building a team. You starting to have those thoughts yet?
Yeah. So I actually, when I delivered with FedEx in a local town, I delivered at this warehouse, and I knew that they had some extra office space and they didn't use the whole warehouse. So I talked to the owner, and he gave me a great deal. He gave me a whole office that came with a desk. He lets me use his internet, everything. Like, everything's included. And I could have never asked for anything better. He actually has an extra office downstairs that I'm going to turn into a prep center and hire someone to start doing all my prep. And I'm just going to use the upstairs as my my office for basically reorders and stuff like that. Because right now I've been going up and down the stairs for a lot of my stuff. But it's funny because when I first moved in, I said, yeah, I won't need much of the warehouse, maybe a pallet here or there. And that first week was when I found those 24 pallets. and I had him, he has a forklift, so he let me use the forklift. And he came in the next day and he had pallets stacked, double stacked. And on these mezzanine levels, just everywhere you could see was product. And he comes in like, what is going on? And I said, well, I mean, this thing happened. So I have all this product that I have to prep, but I promise I'll have it out here within 2 months. He's like, as long as it's out of my way, it's no problem. And the funny thing is, he actually runs like a industrial grease business, like lubrications for big machines and stuff. And so we really have to keep our products separated because his is a really dirty, messy product, and I'm trying to sell new retail, products. So we have to really keep our stuff separated so we don't have any issues. But it's kind of funny how God just led me to this relationship where, as time goes on, I'll probably pay him more for rent, but he was really trying to help me out from one business owner to another to get started.
That's incredible. The answer to every challenge we're going to face is a person. In
Yeah.
business, especially true, man. Every challenge you're going to find, the answer is a person. The solution's a person, and that's I love stories like that where two businesses are kind of mutually benefiting each other, and each better able to serve their customers as a result. That's the power of community, man. You're experiencing it firsthand. It's only going to get better from here. I love it. So who are you going to hire first? It sounds like you're going to hire some prep folks first, is what the plan is right now, right?
A couple months ago, I hired a couple family members to help me with. I got a whole truckload of stuff from one of my wholesalers, and it takes work to get everything labeled and shipped and inspected. So I did hire a couple of people for that, and really, I mean, I'm a really good shopper. I get that from my mom. Just I can find a deal like nobody, and so I feel like my time is better spent either finding deals or open up new accounts versus prepping the product that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have a problem with it. I mean, I'm fine with working hard, and it's actually been kind of a switch in my mind because I've grown up with a dad that works so hard with his hands that sitting in front of a computer and setting up a shipping plan or talking to a wholesaler just was not work to me. So it's easier for me to go scan products in the store, go look at products in the store versus doing other work that doesn't feel like work to me. So I've had to have a switch. I had to switch my brain a little bit into like, this is more profitable and you can serve more people better and you can have more time for your family if you take this route. So I still go to retail stores and I'm still like just itching to like find products, but sometimes I'll just snap pictures and I'll send them to my virtual assistant and say, hey, can we open an account with this company? And
Yeah,
we have like an email template and she'll email them and we'll try to get accounts that way.
yeah. Well, you're going to make the transition. It's a very natural transition. That I say it's natural doesn't mean it's easy, but as you continue to grow, your job is going to be managing people, managing a team, and very quickly, my advice would be you need to start putting into someone else's head the skills that you're using to generate income, because that's when you can go up that next level and have a team of shoppers, a team of people calling wholesalers. And when I say team, I'm not talking about 15 people, I'm like one or two, but as you
Mhm.
start out. But you're hiring people who are more than paying for themselves and who have the vision of what you're trying to build. And as those people come along, man, that's such a huge blessing because then you're able to be freed up even another level to start thinking things like, how do we build a moat around this castle? Meaning, how do we get one of these really popular products that is selling like crazy for us from this wholesaler, and let's maybe get our own brand and start testing that a little bit. And once it proves out, let's start growing our own audience. Let's get our own Shopify website, right? So you're staying one step ahead of any of those things that could potentially come along and really challenge your business. Building a moat around the castle is the way I think about it. There's the activities you want to be involved in. The stuff that got you here isn't what's going to get you there.
Right.
It's a constant growing. That's why I call running a successful business a leadership journey. That's all it is. First, you got to lead yourself. If you can't lead yourself, you're not going to start a business. That's discipline, which obviously you
Right.
have in spades. Next, it's leading a few other people and making good leadership decisions. And then next, it's being able to trust leadership to people that you brought in and step up another level. And
Yeah.
you keep doing that over time, keep building a moat around the castle kind of mindset. And before long, you look over your shoulder and it's a lot of people doing what they do every day because of the vision that you had and the work that you did. It's a pretty incredible trip. But I clearly see you on that journey, especially with the work ethic that you have, man. Uh, you're just gonna tear it up, man. I can't wait to keep seeing the new chapters of your story.
Well, thanks. It's funny because I think back when I first quit my job, I was like thinking, how much do I need to just pay the bills and stay afloat so I don't have to go back to a job, right?
Hmm.
And I was thinking, if I can just make $180 a day in profit, 7 days a week, I can make it, and I can even have a little bit of money left over. And I read Grant Cardone's book, The 10 Times Rule.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, my goal went from $180 a day to $1,800 a day. And I was like, that's crazy. There's no way I can do that. And I mean, I've had days where I did 3 times that in profit this year. And it's crazy. Like, it's just crazy that when you expand your goals, and even if you don't always reach them every day, you have something that you're shooting for that just is beyond your dreams. Honestly, I would have never imagined I'd be sitting here talking to you, like, from coming to your conference for free 2 years ago to now. I'm like, I have somewhat of a successful story, at least this year. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's an incredible story, and you with neither one of us are able to quite process the level of inspiration that this is providing to. I mean, it could be someone listening to this 2 years after we've recorded it, and they're
Right.
thinking to themselves, "Okay, yeah, if those guys can do it, I'm at least as smart sounding. I think I think I sound and feel smarter than those guys sound. So I'm gonna take a shot at this. At least do something, right? I mean, who knows the ripple effect of this positive story that you've built, this incredible story that you've built. So, man, congratulations on that. So, how has it impacted? Like, what's your routine now? I'm sure you had an alarm clock, and there for a while, you were getting, if I heard you right, like 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Um, like, what's your routine now?
Yeah. So it kind of changed a little bit from summer to the school year because my son goes to traditional school, so it starts early. But honestly, in the summer, like, I'm a night owl, so I would much rather sleep and then stay up later and work. And some of that's because of my schedules from different jobs. But it's crazy because my whole life I've wanted to play volleyball. Like, I love playing volleyball. And it was always like, my work schedule, or just I can't make all the games. And this past summer I started playing at the local Y, and I started playing like 8 hours a week, like crazy. I was just, having fun, but like I would work hard and then I would play volleyball, and I would just do things that I enjoyed. And it just kind of like motivated me. And it's like I don't have to work 70 hours a week anymore, but I also don't want to not work any hours at all, right? Because you could easily get very lazy and say, I'm making pretty good money right now, I'm just going to take a month off for no reason. And one thing I did when I first went full time is I met with five out of the six guys I wanted to meet with. I met with and sat down with them and said, hey, I know you work from home, or you're a farmer, or you're a business owner. What's your routine on a day-to-day basis? What good books have you read, or what podcasts do you listen to, or how did you grow? And just talking about like their personal relationships with their kids, and when do you turn work off, because we can be on all the time and it's constantly something grabbing for our attention. So um, I try to do that at the beginning to get knowledge from other people, to kind of schedule my day. So there were days I would sleep in and then work later. But now with the school year, I kind of like drop my son off and come to the office and do a traditional day.
I love that you're incorporated in a sport, because that's very similar to my story with, and I still play a lot of basketball. Tuesday around here is my basketball day, and it has been for years and years and years. There for a while it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But it's beautiful to be able to have that flexibility where I'm home more. I'm a better dad. I'm a better husband. I'm more flexible in my ability to be available, to be around. We're earning more money, and I get to incorporate in my favorite sport that I thought I was going to have to give up. That
Yeah.
everybody I played ball with in high school, they've stopped playing years and years ago. And here I am. I get to go to a tournament here in a couple months and play in Florida with a bunch of guys my age, because I've kept my
Yeah.
game sharp, and just all those little side ripple benefits of doing life with this degree of, the internet lifestyle, if you want to call it that. The ripple effects are incredible. I got to run a marathon. I never dreamed I would be able to do something like that, because that takes a lot of time and commitment and energy and getting up early and diet and all that. Well, I had the time, energy, and the money and the flexibility to be able to do that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have otherwise. I come from a long line of otherwise overweight people, diabetes and heart issues
Yeah.
in their 30s and early 40s. And here I am, healthy as ever, into my 50s. I wouldn't have had time to do that otherwise, So I feel very blessed. And that's the path I see you on too, man. A very similar path where, man, you can do life the right way. And there's going to be challenges. It doesn't mean life is all, fun and games all the time.
Right.
But a lot of the problems that otherwise would have been really tragic have been reduced down to writing a check, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that stinks. Garbage disposal went out. Write a check. It doesn't set back our budget for the next 3 weeks. You call a guy and he does it, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the flexibility maybe to do it yourself. But um, I love the path that you're on. Your story really resonates because I see a lot of where I was. Um, where you are, and you've got a great time ahead of you for sure. So I love hearing a little bit about your schedule. What were some of those great books? I'm curious. You talked to some guys who mentioned books. Like, what have you read that's been influential on you?
Wow. Can you put me on the spot there? Because I
Yeah,
haven't.
I did. And I can fill in some gaps on some books too from my end if I'm putting you on the spot. But
I think the best one was the Silent Sales Machine.
oh, okay. Brown knows the host. That'll get you brown bonus points for sure.
No, but for real, I did. I think the 10 Times Rule is one of the biggest books I read at the beginning. That just kind of expanded my goals of what I really wanted to accomplish, because I was just. It's mostly about real estate, but there's a lot of crossover with business, right? Trying to think of some other books. I am kind of drawing a blank right now.
Have you read any John Maxwell?
I did actually read a few of his books.
His leadership books. Yeah,
because you recommended a couple and I read them actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I recommend his stuff pretty consistently, and especially you're getting into that leadership phase of your business where you're going to be leading other people, and his stuff is just so good on that topic and keeping your mindset in the right place. Very influential. And of course, well, I've got it sitting right here. If you haven't read this one yet, I'm going to show it to the screen. Those of you who are listening, it's Business Secrets from the Bible. That's by Daniel Lappin, our keynote speaker from our most recent live event.
That was the first Audible book I downloaded, actually.
There you go.
After you recommended it.
What did you think of that one?
It's a good book, and I need to go through and listen to it again, because there's so many principles that are deep, and there's so many layers. And as you evolve, you see things differently, and different things speak to you in different stages of life. I mean, I know there were problems that I had in my business 2 years ago that would just stress me out, and I would be, for a whole day just pulling on my hair. And now, after you deal with those a few times, you know how to deal with it. It becomes, here's what we do when this happens, and you can pass it on to your virtual assistant. Like, do this. If it's not over a certain dollar amount, take care of the customer.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's why I love business as such a reflection of how life really is. People who can do business well can do life well. And people who can't do life very well can't do business very well. I mean, because the rules are the same. And I love that lesson where, these mountains we climb when we're early on in business, we look back over our shoulder and there's speed bumps that we could have easily skipped over if we'd have just had our confidence. But yeah, that book really does mature with you over time. I've gone through it several times now, probably my 8th time going through it, not because it's Daniel Lappin, not because he's so creative and brilliant, but because he has put into plain English these 3,500-year-old principles that have served the most economically successful culture in world history. He broke them down into very digestible tidbits that are very easily applied to any stage of maturity in life or business. That's why I love the book. Lappin's a cool guy. I haven't got to spend a whole lot of time with him. We consider each other friends. I'd like to spend more time with him, but it's not him. It's not the cool, catchy title. It's, and it's not common sense either. So I kind of feel like we're doing a little commercial for that book. But here in the past few podcast episodes, if you scroll back in time, you'll see a couple of them were from Daniel Lappin. If you're new to our show, you need to go back and check those out as he spoke at our conference. Truly powerful content. Now, if you're ready to apply it, it's going to change your life. So yeah, I love that you've been through that. So you're set up well, man, to do some cool stuff. But I want to reemphasize, I think, someone who's listening right now, maybe putting themselves in your shoes, like, who should I hire? What's the first thing I should do? Because you'll hear me say sometimes, you want to do the stuff that only you can do. That's the journey. Do the stuff that only you can do. But that doesn't tell you who to hire first. The first person you hire needs to be someone who's putting money in the bank, more money than you're paying them. Once they're trained, early on, that's not going to be happening, obviously, as you train them. But as you start putting people on your team who are putting money in the bank, doing the work that you used to have to do, that you no longer have to do as your time gets freed up, then you can really scale something special. So that's the goal. Have someone who knows how to source the way you do. Have someone that can follow up on those contacts, that, that account that you had to go after and call and follow up with. Train someone else. Show them that, tell them that story, teach them that process. Have them go through those steps for you and with you, so that you're freed up even more, and your time will fill up. Your schedule will fill up. You're never going to get to the point. 4-hour work week is a lie. Tim Ferriss, you're a cool dude, but that's a lie. It doesn't, that's not how the real world works. Even if you think you're only working 4 hours, your wheels are spinning. If you're a true business owner, you have a hard time turning it off, and you're always thinking of new ways to grow and expand and grow your team. And even Tim Ferriss has admitted that that book wasn't really ever intended to be something where people actually only work 4 hours. That's a total myth. It's a path to misery, really. You think you can just play all day and have and enjoy life. That's a lie. Work's the most fulfilling thing you can do with your time, outside of family, friends, and a healthy balance there. But well, hey, what else is on your mind, man? Any tips, any strategies, anything you want to share with the new listeners, maybe to this show, or someone who's maybe trying to get the wheels turning in this direction, man? What else you got on your mind?
Um, I mean, not really a whole lot. As I was preparing for this interview, I was kind of thinking, what am I going to talk about? Because I'm nobody special. I'm just a normal guy that just lives his life and trying to get through life, trying to get ahead, and trying to work hard and serve other people. But I never called it that before. And I think when you started saying that, it really flipped a switch in my mind that my job is to serve people. So, you know, I love finding those products on Amazon that says that they're not available, because you're literally taking a product that people can't find online and you're serving that market. So I mean, if you see something like that, and just because it's ranked a million doesn't mean it's not going to sell. I mean, that one product I was telling you about, it was ranked over a million, and it was still a product. I actually found it with a bunch of dust on it on the top shelf, and it was long forgotten. And I got on clearance, and sure enough, they sold. And so I this year I'll probably sell over 2,000 units of that, and then a variation. I'll sell another 1,000 units of a variation of that. So don't overlook something just because maybe it's not available. Test it, test everything, and like you said, go an inch deep and a mile wide. I went a mile deep the first time with my private label because I bought 1,000 units without testing. And yeah, I got 18 5-star reviews and people loved it. I was selling 5 a day, but my profits disappeared because I never tested the market. And I spent a lot of money in advertising to get it ranked well. What's cool about that is now, once I launch more private label products, I know the process, and I know not to go as deep, and I know a little bit more how to get things ranked and how it works. So if you want to jump into private label, that's great. Just don't buy so many units. Test it from a wholesaler. Put together a bundle. Try something. I know you guys have a lot of courses teaching people how to do private label the easy way, and the bundling course and all kinds of things like that, where it's test, test, test.
Test small, right. A lot of courses out there, they have you jump off a cliff and then like help you supposedly market your way out of the hole you've dug. Man, I've just seen that go wrong so many times. We don't teach that strategy. Yeah, I love test small. Something else we teach, you just reminded me, one of our wholesale course inside the Proven Amazon course, the wholesale module. We actually spend some time teaching. If you haven't been through yet, Brad, you should probably check it out. How to dig into Amazon and find those products that are expired, no longer available, and how to track down and research and dig.
Yeah.
Find them on Amazon, then find the wholesale source or a similar. And we've even had some success from time to time where maybe there's a newer version of that product, and you can take over that listing. Contact Amazon and go, hey, this product's actually no longer available anywhere in the world. Could I take over this listing, flip a switch, and just go ahead and replace the picture and kind of pick up where it left off, because here's the new improved version kind of thing. And we've had some success doing that. So there's some cool, interesting ways to kind of dig deep and serve well, as you said, some of these products that have kind of vanished off the scene that still have a lot of people looking for them. I love that. So what's your 2019 end of year goals looking like? You said about 600,000, but we've still got the busiest 2 weeks of the Christmas shopping season are about upon us. So
It's crazy.
what's the goal?
Yeah, it's crazy because the problem is I'm running out of products. You run out of stuff and you can't stay in stock if they sell really well. And so I don't know. I think I'll be around 700,000 for the year. Maybe I mean I'd like to hit 750,000. That would be kind of a cool goal to hit. But whether I hit it or not, I've already surpassed what I wanted to do. And so going forward, I'm going to continue to open more wholesale accounts for next year and try to do that. And I love to help my wholesalers with their products on Amazon, whether pictures are bad or the title's terrible or whatever. I like to some of my value is improving their products. And um, I've gotten a couple samples already from some retail products I found that sold well, and I'm like, well, this is not, the brand is not driving demand for this product. So I've actually already got a few samples for things I'd like to roll out myself. And then,
Yeah, the key word was driving the traffic, not the brand, right? So that means you have an opportunity to get your own product in the mix. Is that what you're
right.
saying? Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, like nobody's ever heard of the product, the brand that's selling these products, but I can get a very similar product and even improve it, and with my own brand name. So I'd like to move into that a little bit of private label, and like we talked about, test with a small amount of units and see how
That's
it
right.
works.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is, my friend Chris and I, we're actually have our own website up, and we're working on doing some different models on that and adding our products to that website to add another stream of income. Because with Amazon, it's a great, there's a lot of customers, there's a lot of things that are positive, but it's also their sandbox. And it's
That's
also,
right.
at any time, your metrics could go down because of a customer lying about something, or maybe you really did mess up
Mm-hmm.
and your account gets dinged and you don't get as much to the buy box and your sales get cut in half. So yeah, really our goal is 2019 to really be looking to diversify into other channels.
Well said, man. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Something else too, another way to diversify that's probably some pretty low hanging fruit for you as you're talking to these other wholesale companies and you start ramping up your wholesale business. What you're going to see is from time to time, um, other sellers will discover, wow, that's a hot product. Anytime a product's hot, other sellers are going to notice and they're going to go, hey, can I sell this too?
Yeah.
If you start to see other sellers kind of piling up on one of your listings, especially if you're the oldest, most established buyer, go to the brand and propose that you help them set up their own Amazon account. Let's shut off all sellers. I'm going to help you set up your own Amazon account. I'll help you manage it. The check is going to go to you. You just pay me a cut of that check. Well, the benefits are many, including now you have more than one Amazon account you're getting paid for, right? So it's
Right.
almost arguably better to go that route with a handful of them strategically before you even have to. And you may make a little less money. You may actually make a little more money depending on how you set it up with the source. And now all you're doing is just overlooking account where they're sticking their own labels and shipping them out, and you're handling things like marketing, customer complaints, any correspondence from Amazon that's confusing. You're the guy getting illegitimate sellers off the listing if there's any way to do that, because that's going to happen from time to time. But you can kind of be the rep. And that's another course inside Proven Amazon course too, Brad. You may be aware of it, but for the listener's sake, the PPP, Proven Product Partnering module, teaches that inside the Proven Amazon course. Yet another diversification strategy for you that's
Yeah.
some low-hanging fruit for you, man. I think you'll have some fun with that one.
I like that strategy.
Yeah, that's some good
Sounds
stuff.
good.
Yeah, it's very low-hanging fruit too. And it's one of those cool ways where you think you've hit a dead end. It's like, oh no, there's 20 sellers on my product. I used to be the only one. Well, this is the way out of that. You can become the only one again. Give it back to
Yeah.
the manufacturer, give it back to the guy who's making it, and take a piece. Cut out all the other sellers. Beautiful. Well, hey man, this has been a lot of fun. Unless there's anything else on your mind, I think I'm going to go ahead and start to land this episode, man. But anything else popped to your head you want to say to the listeners before I start to shut this one down?
No, sir. It's been
All
nice
right.
talking to you, though.
It's great hanging out with you as well, Brad. I love your story. Can't wait to hear an update. Hey, you're going to come to Florida 2020, July 2020, the
I
Proven
feel like I
Conference.
have to
You
at this
do.
point.
You are actually legally obligated now. You didn't read the fine print in our contract. No, it'd be great to have you there, meet your little kiddo and your wife, man. It's going to be beautiful on the beach, July 2020. That's theprovenconference.com. Come meet Brad. Come meet a lot of the other cool guests we've had on this show. Listeners, hey, we appreciate you hanging out with Brad and I today. I hope you had as much fun as we did. And I'm sure if you're paying attention and taking notes, you picked up on some really good tips today. Share this episode with a friend, someone maybe who's working way harder than they should be to try to make things happen. Maybe this episode will give them a little hope, some options. And especially right now, as we come into the Christmas season, as we're recording this, God bless you and yours, and Merry Christmas to all you guys, and to you and yours, Brad, as well. Thank you, buddy. But we'll have another great episode of Silent Sales Machine Radio for you real soon. Can't wait to talk to you then.